Yeah,
interesting,
it is.
people.
Uh-oh.
You're expecting me
I might
interesting
just
on a
have
Saturday? Saturday's like my day off. This
I
is my
can't be
it'll
boring
just
interesting
be
on
day.
some.
command.
It'll be pretty simple. I was saying that everybody can introduce their story, maybe have a minute to say what inspired it, and then if we get any questions in chat, we can do that.
Wait,
Um,
Facebook groups now give you points? Why do you get points?
you get points in Facebook groups.
For absolutely no reason at all.
This is so weird.
Because
I
gamification.
was checking something in Realm Makers and it has little like awards and points, and I'm like, wait, what happened here?
Yeah, the names the games are made up and the points don't matter. That's my life philosophy. So,
No, yeah, I didn't agree to be part of this game. I was literally just talking with people since when was that a point system?
yep.
Sorry,
Uh,
can turn to the other conversation. I was just shocked by that. I shouldn't be. It's Facebook.
Mm. Yeah, Facebook keeps getting weirder and weirder. Everybody come join my Discord where everything is more structured and there's no ads.
give it a few more minutes. We're technically only at 301 or 302, depending on the clock.
I have 302.
So sometimes they
Aaron, you have some very
come.
strategically arranged shelves behind you there. Nice
I
job.
do, yes. Including the book we're talking about, or one of them
Yeah.
anyway.
Nice.
Yeah, I had to clear out a shelf. I want to make a shelf to display my books there. And I've got
Yeah.
some other still around me book under there, but with a whole bunch of other crap. And
I love the stuff in front of it. That was only I'd recently moved bookshelves, and then that's when I realized just how much knickknacks I'd put in front of my books. And I was like, oh wait.
it's like, oh, there's a bunch of them. Yeah. Got a whole bunch of tea mugs I rarely ever use. Including this one I got for Christmas. It's a mug shaped like a Christmas tree.
Oh,
I
is
haven't
it?
even, it's still got the wrapper on it.
Nice.
It's still got the wrapper on it. I haven't even used that one yet. I'm saving that one for Christmas at this point. See, I can be weird and awkward on command, but I don't know about interesting.
That's pretty much for the course. Um, I am going to say we can get started in doing introductions now. There's nobody in the waiting room, so I think this might be what we're getting. So we can put questions in chat. If I will keep an eye up and see if anyone else enters. Like I said, we can repost the recording. So I'm going to start, and we can just go around and introduce ourselves, say a thing about our story. Hey, I don't know if you are a reader or an author who is just using an alias I'm not familiar with. Let me know if you are an author who is not because that is a possibility because some people use pen names. If you are a reader, welcome. Thank you for showing up. I'm going to start, I guess, just go my screen. So, Tom, can you introduce yourself first and say what your story's about?
Yeah, I'm Tom, and my story is about a girl who is a bird telepath rescuing birds, and her sidekick, or vice versa. They're kind of both co heroes, who is some sort of intelligence agent, and they rescue birds from a snake man.
As you do. All right. And Amber, why don't you introduce yourself and your story?
So I'm Amber Gabriel, and I started writing about the Rubber Bandit, which was a side character in one of Heidi's stories, who is absolutely hilarious and super punny. So I wrote one story about him for the first anthology, and then I didn't necessarily have an idea in mind for the second anthology until I was summoned for jury duty last summer. And I'm sitting there on jury duty and I'm super bored. And the seats are like spaced out 6 feet apart, even though it's like been 4 or 5 years since COVID. And they had conflicting directions on whether or not you could be on your phone. So, of course, I took out my phone because it wasn't clear whether or not I could be on my phone. So I decided to find out. And so then they came around and told me, you can't be on your phone. You have to put it away. So, and then I just sit there thinking about stories. And I'm like, boy, I would love to be a supervillain right now because I'm so bored. So then I kept thinking about, well, what would the Rubber Bandit do if he was called for jury duty? That would be super funny if there was a villain on jury duty. So then I had, because at the time I was watching all the people lined up with excuses trying to get out of the jury duty that didn't do it ahead of time. So they're up there talking to the judge and like, I can't because of this reason, or I can't because of that reason. So, of course, he would try to get out of it because he's a villain. So that's what I wrote the story about. Also, interestingly, I have really a hard time with coming up with names for stories. So I took all the names for this story and kind of inspired the scenario for the court case off of the Tin Woodsman of Oz. So I got a lot of names for there. So almost every name in the story has some relation to a character in the Tin Woodman of Oz. And it's set in Reno because that's where the team that arrested him was from. And just as a funny side note, I'm here at the Nimitz Museum and they're doing renovations. And so we get free tickets to come back another time. And on the ticket, it says Reno. So there you go.
Okay, let's go with Aaron next.
Hi, I'm Aaron DeMott, and my story is The Stray and Dosa Files 2. It's on page 133.
Can I give you a call back?
Oh, I didn't.
Thanks, Dad. I love you. Bye.
I hit mute, sorry. Hit mute.
Hey, Kate, can you mute? Oh, hold on.
Can everybody hear me now?
I can hear you. Sorry, we were getting feedback from another user.
I hit mute, so we're not to fit feedback. Then I forgot to unmute like I always do. Anyway, I'm Aaron DeMott. My story is The Stray and the Dosa Files 2. It starts at page 133. It takes place in Michigan's Upper Peninsula because it's where everybody goes in Michigan in the summer. It's up north. And it starts out with a ranger who's tracking in a monster who might or might not be a monster and or a supervillain. So read the story to find out what it actually is.
All right, Catherine, your turn.
Okay, my name is Catherine Bonham, but I write as C.O. Bonham. I have 2 stories. One is in Dosa Files 1, and then one is in Dosa Files 2. It's a continuation of the first story. Both of them feature a young sable named Violet. Violet is, in the second story, she's kind of dealing with the fallout from story 1, where she finds out her dad lied to her entire life. So this is her chance to reconnect with the mom that she was kept from. And then there's some fun shenanigans at the London Bridge. To say any more, I think, would be a big spoiler.
Is it falling down?
Maybe. Kind of like Amber's story. Violet's first story was inspired by one of Heidi's books. Power Through features Marco, and he goes through like a steampunk Jules Verne inspired amusement park that's been abandoned. And Violet's first story resumes at this park. So rather than pulling a full character, I pulled a setting. Although Marco does make an appearance because he is my Marco Mello.
All right, and Gordon, your turn.
Hi, I'm Gordon, and first time appearing in this universe. It's been a lot of fun. My story is about a girl who escapes from a situation where she's being forced into stealing stuff from supervillains with her powers. She managed to get on a flight to England and washes up with a family there, and it's about what happens after that. And there are 2 routes for that. One is Paddington Bear books. I don't know if anyone's familiar with those on your side of the pond. My dad read them to me as a kid. I used to read, especially the first chapter where Paddington Bear meets this family in Paddington train station. I used to read it over and over to my kids, so that was sort of imprinted in my brain. Weirdly, the book is really uninterested in the fact that she comes from Peru, and really uninterested in the fact in how generous this family is in taking in this completely strange bear. But I thought that was really interesting in terms of the vibe of the sort of power books that I really liked, of second chances, of found family. And so I had to tell you, well, what if instead of a bear, it was a stable teen who needed help? And the second thing was, suppose you could see what powers people had. Suppose you could see into, if you like, further than other people. What would the price of that be? What might you lose in the course of it, kind of emotionally, or this guy loses color vision, for instance? Just think about that. That was me.
All right, Janine, your turn.
All right, so I'm familiar with the Dosaverse because Heidi did this, and look, it's going to blow up. And she says, "No, it's not. It's going to be 4 books." I'm just going to keep bringing that up forever because I warned you that when you set things in urban things, they explode. And actually, I wasn't intending on writing for this because I had started my own superhero series. I'm like, I don't, people get confused and I don't know. But then my current book that I was working on took longer and I was like, I can't finish books. I feel sad. I want to just do a quick short story. Heidi gave me a prompt. And so she gave me the prompt of an author who is being checked out by Dosa because the stories she's writing with crimes were actually being committed by supervillains. And I'm like, okay, well, I have to do that. That's going to be really comfortably, a nice, fun thing. I know a lot about the publishing industry. I can do some in-jokes and just have fun with that. And so I basically ran with that prompt and wrote the story in about a weekend after Christmas. Had a lot of fun with just playing around with something that could be fun and could just wrap up and everything. And so yeah, I ran with that and had my character, and I tweaked some things where the main character who's writing the stories, she also has a power, but she's kind of independent and doesn't want to join Dosa, so she's just not. So I had some back and forth with Heidi. Do you have to join? What would it look like to not join? Would Dosa get cranky if you didn't join, even though you had a useful power? And so it was fun, and that's pretty much where I went with it. I added a little more romance to it because I do that. And so it's a superhero where his girlfriend is an author and has a power, but she doesn't want to join. So she's like a freelancer. And so his boss says, this guy's committing crimes based on your girlfriend's manuscripts. And he's like, that's impossible. That's ridiculous. And they're engaged. And so there's some tension there about that, where it's like check in on her because maybe you're dating a supervillain and he's not, but that's nice, fun tension. So yeah, that's where I went with that. And it was a nice break. And it was fun to play in Heidi's universe.
All right. I can't get a response from Kate about whether or not she is. I thought she might be an author with a pen name, but I'm not sure. And are you there, Kate?
Sorry to yeah, I'm sorry. Yes, I'm Lucy. Well, my real name is Kate, but I write under the pseudonym of Lucy Winton. And I've read a lot of the Dosa books. And so when the prompts came out for books 2 and 3, got intrigued by one, but I had an idea of another one. Truth is, I've been kind of intrigued by the idea of sort of abducting someone for their own protection. I know it's probably not the best idea, but so I decided to write a story about that. And my idea was to have a young woman who was a bit like Abigail Park in that she is a dormant. super. She has a power, but she has no idea. And she has it, and basically it didn't manifest in her teens. So, but what she doesn't know is that there is a supervillain who knows what power she has and thinks that it could be really useful to him. And the local but a team of vigilantes spirit her away before he can get to her. So, yep, that's me.
Thank you. All right, so everybody has introduced their stories. I've got a question for everybody. We're going to go in turn. I should probably introduce my stories. So I have two, and both are kind of continuations, or well, they're actually both prequels to Wishing on a Supervillain for different characters. One is a prequel featuring Oliver, the young boy in Wishing on a Supervillain, and a little bit about how he discovers, to be spoilery, a secret about himself and his background that kind of kickstart behind the scenes what eventually will become Wishing on a Supervillain. And the other one is the backstory for Casey, Switch's sidekick, and about how he loses his brother and decides that he's going to take revenge. And it's kind of a funny story because it's a story about Casey deciding he doesn't care about his own life anymore. And basically he's going to do an act of vengeance that he knows will ruin his life, but he doesn't care. And then he comes across Switch, who's trying to do the exact same thing. And he's like, no, you don't do that. That's... And by learning to care for Switch and, get this other young guy off a path of self-destruction, he kind of saves himself. And I just wanted to explore those two characters, especially because with Casey, I was at the time about to write her fake superhero boyfriend, which is Casey's starring role. So I wanted to crack into who he was a little bit. So that's mine. So I'm going to start with Amber this time. And your guys' question is, if you suddenly got the superpower of your main character, what would you do with it?
Oh, yeah, stretchy powers or elasticity is not one you normally put at the top of the list. But I think just being able to get from one place to another a little bit faster is nice. Being able to play, I could think of all kinds of ways to play with it at recess with my students. I'd probably have to switch to being a PE teacher from being an art teacher. And boy, with having back problems and sciatica, I would use that stretchiness a lot to fit into seats on airplanes and park benches and all kinds of stuff. It would make life a lot more comfortable.
The rubber bandit really would have a future as a chiropractor too. Like that's come up a couple times.
Yeah.
Reshape people. All right, Erin. How about you? And I guess you get to choose between the cat girl and the guy with the super hearing. So you can pick.
Yeah, if I had super hearing, I would probably do the same thing that the character does and get a job up in the UP or somewhere equally as remote. So I have to hear all the sirens and traffic and machinery and stuff constantly. As far as the cat girl, she's got like reflexes, hearing, sight, smell, and vision and stuff. I don't know what I'd do with that. Probably take a bunch of hikes or something. I'm not a terribly adventurous person myself, so I wouldn't turn to crime or anything like that. But oh no, I do know what I do all day with cat powers. I would sleep all day.
Nice. All right, Catherine, what would you do?
If I had steam powers, probably panic a lot because Violet's powers are very emotion based and it would, not be fun to deal with being emotional and then having all the steam going off. Practically, steam powers would probably be most useful in a sauna, but who wants to look at naked people all day? So, Probably,
tea with
probably
them.
would just. I suppose that's true. Probably actually would just be like panicking, like trying to shut myself away and control my emotions and not interact with people so I don't make big clouds of steam.
Okay. And Gordon, I'll let you pick from your characters so that you have multiple superpowered characters in your story.
Yeah, I mean, I guess one of them has invisibility powers. I'm struggling. There's lots of illegitimate uses for that. Possibly there's some legit uses in intelligence work. And the ability to see people with powers would be interesting. Again, a main character has used that in intelligence in his past. Um, I think the potential to possibly help people if you did live in a world where there were people running around with powers they might not know they have or might not understand, like to think that use them use them for good, or I might just sit in my corner and go, that's interesting. I don't know.
Janine, your turn.
I was gonna say for Catherine's, I mean, I would just say get a steam-powered car and then you'd never have to pay for gas again.
Or steam tractor or
Yeah,
steam
like they
train.
used to
You
do
power it
steam
yourself.
cars, before they had like gasoline. You could just do that, and then you would look weird. Probably get pulled over by cops going, "Why is your car steam?" But okay, so the story is told from the perspective of Windstorm, but then like his fiance is equal parts of it. So he has wind powers. I don't think I should have wind powers. I really don't think I should have any powers that are desperately connected to my emotions because then like when I'm not having a good day and you're fighting things back, but it comes out through your powers, my house would be a messy bad. So like anything like wind powers or telekinesis or stuff, I'm always like, no, 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 no. Like I don't need to wreck my house like that. But I do like Yeti's powers because I gave her electromagnetic powers, and I mean, the slight wish fulfillment, she can like control technology, like she can control EM spectrum and set, so she just like can operate 5 or 6 monitors at the same time. You know how cool it'd be to write stories where you could just like take documents from all things. You wouldn't have to use a mouse or anything. I wouldn't have to work carpal tunnel. I could just like work through all the things. So when I wrote that, I was literally thinking, okay, how useful would this really be if I could just like hop into these things? And then I'm like, the next question is when would I actually come out of it and into the real world? So, and the only downside is when she's really in it, then she's completely like immobile in the real world. She can't do anything. She's pretty helpless when she's really in the different electromagnetic spectrums. But that's what you have a guy for, whatever, friends, So I would, her powers would make my life really easy for all the typing I would do because I would just like like get all the books written.
Awesome. Okay. Tom, if you want to go, it's your turn. Again, you feel like that's the one superpowered character, really, the bird telepath, right?
Right, right. The other character does not have superpowers as such that we know of. She just punches things and uses weaponry. Uh, Bird telepathy is a power that probably, I mean, the only real use that I can think of for it is kind of what she was doing at the start of the story, which is doing some sort of wildlife biology. You know, checking out the birds in the area, possibly in a farming sort of application. Have a giant chicken farm and you just know how your birds are doing, and oh, that one's having trouble laying. Oh, that one's really irritated today. I'm here at my mother-in-law's and she has chickens out in the yard. Boy, it would be great to know why that one keeps climbing the fence today.
Awesome. Yeah, I would probably also just talk to the neighborhood birds and get all the gossip. I'm sure they know stuff. Little birds are always telling people stuff.
I go all Cinderella and make the birds do my chores for me.
I like this idea too. There we go.
All right. Lucy, /Kate, would you like to tell us what you would do. And again, you have multiple superpowered people in your story, so you can pick your choice of who you want the powers of.
Sorry, forgot I was muted. Sorry. Amy's power is pretty awesome, and it could be useful in a pinch. But another one of the vigilantes has the ability to pause time. And that could be, and yeah, there are times when that would be really useful. And another one can manipulate technology, which again, I could find really very useful if I've, say, forgotten my email password or something. So let's go with either one of those.
Awesome. This I'm going to go backwards. We are running down the time. I only wanted to do this to about 12:30, but it's okay if we go a few minutes late. But if, or not 12:30, 3:30, but my clock's wrong. But I just want to say real quick, if you are an author who has another project or are working another project, give it a shout out. Let's start with you, Lucy, and then we can work backwards through the people.
Well, I recently finished an urban fantasy retelling of the fairy tale King Thrushbeard. It's story 4 in a series called Tales of Topaz Coast. And basically, they're a mashup of sweet young adult romance and fairy tales. For instance, there's a series called The Curvy Girl Club, called by one of my inspirations, and where the books are called Curvy Girls Can't Date Quarterbacks, Can't Date Cowboys, Bad Boys. So I came up with the idea of, say, football stars don't date Cinderella, new boys don't date the Snow Queen. And I've got about 9 stories planned in that series, so we'll see how they go.
Awesome. Janine, you can go.
I just released an urban fantasy book, which I believe it's standalone. I got one review saying, "Oh, it wasn't quite." I'm like, I think it's close enough. Depending, I'm pretty sure it works as its own separate series. And that's set in my Steel City Genie universe. And so the main character is a phoenix shifter who is missing her magical truth knife and also being hunted by her evil cousins, who wants to basically steal her magic and force her to open the door into the Phoenix homeland, which they're pretty sure is like heaven, which it's not, but they have issues and problems and everything. And so she's trying to get this knife back because it will help her access her powers, and also trying to stop them because they're really horrible people who have infiltrated government. And so yeah, and for all that, in terms of the vibe of it, it's very much like the Mummy Returns vibes. She's happily married to a nice dragon. Technically, the marriage is not, goes against some treaties, but they're very happy together. And it's lots of action, banter, lots of artifact hunting, those kind of things. And yeah, it's the first in a new series for that. So that's what I have just released there. I do a lot with urban fantasy and those kind of things.
So, Tom, I believe this is your first publication. So instead of asking you about what you're working on, I'm just going to ask, are you planning to write again?
I had not made any specific plans to write again, but if there's another Dosa Files compilation and I happen to think of something, maybe I'll write another story. This one was fun. This one took me from the first Dosa Files announcement. I sort of wrote my first version of it. It wasn't very good. I rewrote it about 4 times before I finally came up with something that I was happy with. And then I rewrote it a 5th time. So we'll see. This particular book, or this particular story, I mean, part of my inspiration was in one of your previous stories. You asked for some side characters, kids at camp, and I said, well, I know this girl who is really into birds, and bird telepathy just seems like a funny power. Let me go ahead and just suggest that. So I had a character in the universe. I'm not sure that I have another character in the universe, except maybe the guy with the comically large silly string cans. So maybe I'll write something about him at some point.
Awesome. And how about you, Amber?
Well, let's see. I just finished a draft of another Rubber Bandit story, which I'm really excited about. I've had a lot of fun writing about him, so I kind of have to finish his character arc. I'm helping curate and do developmental edits on a Red Riding Hood anthology for 20 Hills. So this will be my first time doing that. I'm actually enjoying that part of it a lot more than I thought I would, because I submitted a story way back for it also. But helping other authors is fun too. I thought that would be kind of hard, but it's easier to make suggestions for other people's work sometimes than for my own. So I'm having fun with that. I've still got ideas for more stories in my medieval action adventure series, The Edge of the Sword, as well. So working on lots of things.
Awesome. Gordon, was this also your first publication?
It was. So thank you. My answer would be very similar to Tom's. I had fun. I can see where it could go, but I haven't got any current plans. I'm not actually British, but I've been living here half my life, and so it'd be interesting to try and think about what the stable scene might look like here. In the meantime, I scratched my writing itch by writing puppet scripts. Doing Puppets Church tomorrow, hopefully, and just trying to work on dialogue and snappy and jokes. That's
Awesome.
the plan.
All right, Catherine, your turn.
Well, I have my most recent one is actually coming up on a year old, Daisy Dunlap and the Cartoon Carnival. So if you want more abandoned amusement park fun, there's that.
You've chosen a very particular niche.
Hmm?
Your new niche is abandoned
Yes.
amusement park.
Current work in progress that I'm struggling with is kind of a Beauty and the Beast retelling, but it's a sequel to my first fantasy novel, Runaway Lyrics. Really struggling, so I don't know if I have a release date in the near future because Beauty and the Beast is super romance heavy, and this is literally the first time I've written romance, so it's a learning curve.
All right, and finally you, Erin.
Other than that, my most...
Oh, sorry, I thought you were done,
Yep.
Catherine. Oh.
No, you're okay. I was just gonna say I submitted something to Havoc, but I don't know if they accepted it yet.
Gotcha.
I've got a lot of irons in the fire. If you like anime-inspired superhero sci-fi, you can check out my Etherno series. If you like kind of straight-up sci-fi space opera, you can check out my Saiyajins and Space Cats novel. And I'm working on the sequel to that right now. I had hoped to have that out by now, but life has happened. And you can kind of check out what all I've gotten going at aarondemott.com.
All right, thank you, everybody. And I was Keith, and I'm doing the free version